thing that Jay said that I got a clip of is how he worked with people, right? I mean, him and we seen it with J. Cole, right? Him dominating the game, I would think that, he would just rap, not really like be super selective with who he works with, and that's it. But he has a different standpoint from it. So
Most part for me, first of all, I don't have an ego in those situations. Everybody should just come to the table and have fun and bring what they bring to the table. And, 1 and 1 is 3. And, if I'm not a Jay-Z fan per se, I get the experience in a setting that I like. I get Justin and like, oh, okay. And it's expansive. It's really helps the genre out a lot. When you put it in that place and put it in that light. And I'm a serial collaborator.
Cereal. So, and I think it has, and for me, if I'm going to guess, like I think it has to do a lot with how he started, because of I think with the rejections of not being able to sign, and then he's able to grow his own team, build Rocafella and everything like that. I think him understanding where he is and how he's looked, to be able to give that platform to other people, as well as, whether it is with a Khaled, whether it is with his wife, whether it is, with other people, he really, like, not only is strategic with his collabs, but he is truly like, yo, let's do this together, and I think it always has to go back to, well, because no one else believed in me, I'm going to be that, like, if I give you the stamp, you're good. If you get the verse from me, like, it's official. Me and Justin will go on tour together. That'd be dope. The Kanye situation. Now the only bad one was the R. Kelly situation. Where's that at?
And you gotta even take that one with a grain of salt, because it was like, before things had really set in. But no, I feel you on it. I'm not even gonna try and correct that.
Yeah, we're not. Yeah. So, but I love that he said that he loves to collab with so many people, because, like I said, it's you are put on a pedestal. You don't have to work with anybody, right? There's probably a nice hefty price tag to get that feature, right? And you're like, nah, and creates time after time different platforms for other artists to collab, other people to do things together, other things to make people partner with others. It's just, I think it always has to go back to the humble beginnings, and no one gave me a shot. So if I could have gotten on this dude's record, if I could have, went on tour with this, even when he did Hard Knock Life tour, he had Method Man on there, Redman, DMX, all this other stuff, like, and he treated them right, because when he went with Puff, he was in like bathroom stalls, like he had to do half and half with Usher. So it was crazy that that he now is looked as top tier, and he's like, yo, let's do something together.
Yeah, it's so cool. It's funny. Khaled has a interview that just came out recently, and he tells a story about how absolutely hyped he was to get a feature or Jay-Z to sign on for one of his songs.
Right.
And he talks about going to the office, playing him the song, and he's listening to it, and he was just like ecstatic, just to kind of show. So to your point, with some of the biggest names in the game giving you that much respect at the height of their career, it's not like Khaled was just on the rise and he finally got to meet Jay. It's like, no, Jay or Khaled is well established.
Yep.
He's under the label, right? He's signed to Roc Nation, so he goes to the office, plays him a track, and he's so amped to have Jay willing to rap on the track. So you're absolutely right about that. And I think it's cool, man. I don't know if it's a level of maturity, but in that clip, and this is where I want to ask you, Nicky, in that clip, he says, I have no ego.
Mm-hmm.
And for some of the pilots who are listening, talk to me about this concept of ego and collaboration. Is it something that has to be absolutely non-existent? Because we see some pilots who've mastered their craft and utilize their ego in a positive way. So it's not always a bad thing that, you're arrogant per se with an ego.
Right.
But I'm just saying when it comes to collaboration, and I know that's something you're big on,
yep.
Talk to me about this concept of ego when it comes to collaboration.
So, I mean, you have to have a healthy amount of ego. Right? So let's look up what ego means. Ego is a person's sense of self-esteem or self-importance. And I think ego gets a bad rap when all it really is a person's true self-esteem. Like, this is how I feel about myself, right? Mm-hmm. When ego gets a bad rap is when you're full of yourself and you think you're better than everybody, right? But you still have to have a good, healthy amount of ego to be number one, to be top tier, right? But at the same time, to collaborate with people, like, I think he puts it down. I don't think he says it like, when he said I have no ego, like, I think because he's using the regular definition of it, right? Yeah. But at the same time, like, you wouldn't have attracted those people if you didn't have an ego. Right? To begin with. Period. Right? If your self-esteem is down, it's like, who are you going to attract? Mm-hmm. Right? So I think what he really meant to say was the fact that my ego is not big to the point where I can't work with nobody. Right? And even for myself, like, my ego is not that big that I can't work with people. Right? And maybe because I'm also a high flight attendant now, just crazy. But at the same time, like, I know to get to the next level, I have to collab. I have to, right? Mm-hmm. And so I can't do everything by myself. And immature pilots work like that. I can do it all by myself, right? Cool. People who think that, I came in the world by myself. Okay, that's cute. Absolutely. You came in the world because of your mother, like your mom. That's one person already. So maybe you need to find just one person. Let's just start there, and then we can build your trust up. It's cool. I'm good with that, right?
That's good.
Just saying. But if in any industry, there are other people who are doing it great or who are doing it on an extra level than you. If you make your life super easy and just work with them, right? Especially if you are in a strategic kind of sense of who can I collab with to get me to that next level. I think everybody that he's attached himself to, Rihanna, Drake, right? Kanye, has got him to a new level. Alicia Keys has got him, whether it's to a new level of relevancy. I can't even say the word relevancy, right? Or just top tier, right? So when it comes to the ego, it needs to be healthy. It needs to be down if you don't have a healthy one. If it's all the way up, right? I'm not going to knock you for it, but I need you to recognize when that needs to go up and down. And working with other people to get to the next level, because that's always going to be the goal, right? And be number one, you have to have a good sense of ego, a good healthy amount of ego to attract them and to work with them.
Yeah, that's good. I like that. By the way, shout out to you for having that definition on the go, because I'm like, I know that's she said, so let's go to the definition.
Oh, well, because I mean, there's certain words that get such a bad rap. Right. And people really are like, oh, you know, well, Beyonce did a whole song, I got a big ego, right? But they use that word wrong. And once you say sense of self-esteem, is it bad to have an ego once you say it like that? No. So.
All right. No, I agree with you. And I definitely think ego in business, you know, as long as your self-image or your self-value is not under attack, I don't think it's necessary for an ego to exist, right? Like that's what allows or creates room for two people to coexist in a similar space and not feel like they're competing against one another, right? Like that's the difference between competition and collaborating with someone. So I think as long as they're, like you said, a healthy balance and your self-value or self-image is not under attack, then you're good to kind of pull that back and give opportunities for others in there.
Yep.